Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about something different. I'm going to talk about my life up until the point where I'm at now. It started out back when I was born on November 17th, 1989. Basically, my real dad did some bad stuff to my mom, and I choose not to talk about it because it also is my mom's personal business. This is what happened between me and her and him. But basically, I was brought into this world, and when I was brought into the world, about 2 weeks later, my grandma convinced CPS, the court, the police, and the doctors to make it to where I lived with my grandma. I lived with my grandma until 6 years of age, but we'll get to that. We'll get to those parts. We'll get to that age. But when I moved to my grandma's at 2 months old, I was happy and peaceful. And then at about the time I was 1 year old, I started, getting emotional, and people started realizing I wasn't looking at them. It was as if I was looking through them. And still people didn't realize this, but those of you who don't know me know I have autism. And I didn't know I had autism until I was about 18. When I was 18, I'll get to that part too later. But I was living with my grandma. My grandma went through many boyfriends. I never met my real grandpa. My real grandpa died when my mom was just real little. And I wish I could have met him. I'm sure he was a nice guy, and I'm sure I'll meet him in heaven. But basically, my grandma's first boyfriend, Rusty, was just a jerk. He was rude. He was ignorant. He had no respect for us. He was always causing fights with my grandma, my mom, and my dad. And my grandma dated him until I was 2. Then, when I was 2 years old, I went on. I first found my first daycare I really enjoyed. I went to a couple daycares where I just didn't fit in. The older kids would pick on me or shove me into a wall. I never told my parents this, but I just kept asking them to move me. They would shove me into the wall. They would throw sand in my face. A lot of kid stuff. We were toddlers. We were in the toddler group as I was a toddler. And the toddlers, were all girls, believe it or not, picking on me. They thought I was different. But, the boys also picked on me, but oddly enough, not as much as the girls did. And, the girls didn't like me because I wouldn't date them. No, they were 3 and 4, and I was only 2, and I didn't know what a date was. And to be honest with you, I don't know how they knew what a date was, at 3 and 4. But, I think it was because there was 4 girls that bullied me. Each were, I said it, 2 of them, all 4 of them were brother and sisters, but not in the same group. 2 of them were sisters, and the other 2 were sisters. And 2 of them were. One of them was, 2 of them were 3, and 2 of them were 4. And their older sisters, probably the one that convinced them that I was a good boyfriend, and convinced them what a boyfriend was. And but growing up through life, you gotta realize friends aren't always what you need. You need a good friend. Sorry, I said that wrong. Friends aren't always what they seem. Excuse me. Friends can be deceiving. They can trick you into only stuff they want. They can only be your friend what you want. But these girls, they were bullying me all the time. Like I said, they shoved me into a wall. They threw sand in my face. they would pin me down to the ground, do weird stuff, They would color on my face with little markers and draw hearts, which weren't really good hearts. They would try to, one tried pulling my hair out, and I didn't have long hair at the time. And then I went to this new daycare when I was about almost 3, and I had gone to this daycare when I was really younger, like a couple months old, until I was about 1.5. And I was at this daycare, the one that were boiling for about half a year. So I was back at that daycare, and I enjoyed it. I played with the kids. Everyone took naps regardless of your age. And I was like, I thought I was not the oldest one at the time, but going there a few years, I became the oldest. But we'll get to that later. And a cool thing about that daycare is my babysitter took me on a hike, and I had never been on a hike. I never used a camera. I never had a backpack. These things were all gifts to me at this time. I went on my first hike. I got my first camera. I got my first backpack. And it was a disposable camera, but I didn't really care. And, I basically took, I can remember one of the pictures was of my shoes. I was so fascinated by the camera. I wanted to take pictures of everything. I wasted all of my film, probably 5 or 10 minutes from what I remember. I took pictures of my shoes, trees, birds, which is common. But I took pictures of leaves on the ground, everything I could see. And then my grandma broke up with Uncle Rusty when I was just turned 3. It was a couple weeks after I turned 3. And then after I turned 4, my grandma started dating a guy named Bobby. And he molested me once. And, they said, well, just keep him out of the family. And they said, okay. Then he came back a second time and molested me. And CPS said, okay, look, he's obviously not going to stay out of the picture. We're going to have to take matters into our own hands. So they sent me to a foster home, which I hated. The foster parents were cruel. The kids were cruel to me. They'd yell at me, and I vomited one day, and they came in these costumes and scared the crap out of me. I mean, they really scared me. And basically, when they scared me, I cried and screamed. And they also chased me with don't know if it was a real snake or a fake snake. I was too young to understand the difference. But it could have been one of those toy snakes. It was tongue wiggles. It could have been a rubber snake. I don't know. It was like a fluorescent green snake. And and to this day I'm afraid of snakes because of that reason. Yeah. And at the age of so my social worker came from CPS, and she basically said, look, we're taking, she asked me how things are going. I lied about them and said they spanked me, but they really didn't. And the spankings were a complete lie to try and get me out of that home. And I went back to my mom and dad's. Bobby wasn't back yet. My mom and dad knew that Bobby had molested me. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't think they knew. But all they knew I was back with my family. And they were happy. Bobby came back into the picture for the 3rd time. And, molested me. It must have been the third time. And he turned himself in, and he was on. My mom and dad came home and found out what happened, and they were on a manhunt for him. They wanted him dead, and the police had to put them in protective custody and watch over them, kind of like children, make sure they didn't wander off or go kill that person because they just did. And it was hard on them, of course, that they couldn't go kill this guy. And now I don't really call him Uncle Bobby. For years I called him Uncle Bobby, but now I call him the creep. But anyway, so I was taken back away from my parents, and the way CPS took me away was very cruel and mean. They basically said, "Oh, your grandma's coming to pick you up," and I was in a foster home or somewhere. I don't even remember what the building was, but I remember I was in a all fancy wood oak kitchen, and I was talking to my grandma, and my grandma was also confused. And and back up a little bit. I had a bird. His name, I can't remember if it's a boy or girl, but it's her. Yeah, I think it was a boy. His name was Pretty Bird. He was my first pet. I also had a dog named Coley Bully. But yeah, and then before I was taken away from my mom and dad, my mom gave birth to two boys, Matthew and Timothy, and a daughter named Kachina. Kachina was my first sister, and then Matthew or Timothy, I can't remember. But I named him because for some reason my mom wanted me to name him. And, Coley Boy got the dog pound called on him because they couldn't, because he wouldn't stop barking, which is natural for dogs to bark. I also, let's go back a little ways again. As a child, I had lots of toys. I loved toys. And then my favorite toy of all time was my Power Wheel. At first, I was not good at driving it. I was scared. I wouldn't drive it fast. Then I got the hang of it. I drove that thing like it was a race car. And we had this really steep hill that our trailer was on. And I drove it down the hill, and, I had a rough life. And forwarding it a little bit again. So I was in a respite home for foster children temporarily, and there was these kids, don't remember their ages, but I remember one was in the crib and he would not stop talking to me, and it was kind of a blessing because he was the first kid I met that would want to keep talking to me, because me growing up, and still to this day, I've had problems not shutting my mouth, but yeah. If you know me, you'll know I have problems not shutting my mouth. And so, left that home, and then I was sad that I left because I really liked that kid. I don't even remember the kid's name or anything. But then I went to another group home, Mike and Teresa. And they were really nice people. They were really nice to me. They bought me whatever I wanted, I had a radio in my room. I had Space Jam blankets, which Space Jam was my favorite cartoon, by the way. I had Space Jam sheets. I had a lot of nice clothes. I had stuff I had never had before. Not because my parents didn't want to give it to me, but because they couldn't afford it. And, yeah. So, that guy loved plants. And every day he would go to I think it was actually Home Depot he would go to. He would buy plants and plants and plants. He had a whole room just of plants, all lined up, bordered up. Not bordered, lined up, is what I'm getting at. And it came time that I was acting up again, and they decided to send me, oh wait, I'll rewrite that. So it was my second Halloween getting horror costume. And I don't really approve of the costume anymore, but I thought it was the coolest costume at the time, the devil. I thought, oh, this is a cool costume. Being Christian, I don't like those scary, ugly costumes anymore. I don't like demons or skeletons or zombies or monsters or blood-sucking skulls or demons or ghosts, or Scream or Chucky or Freddy. Any of those, I don't like those. Or Jason. You can wear, you can dress up for Halloween, but you can't wear horror or stuff that might resemble the devil. And yeah, so I went trick or treating, and I came back, and the guy that was living with me, his name was Mike, as I told you earlier. He basically what's it called? He took my hand and told me, "Oh, we scared of ghosts, so you were good." And I was like, "That's good." And he goes, "Well, um, see, we scared her. How we scared?" And he told me, and she got scared over a cobweb. He told me she was a little girl, of course. Yeah, and yeah, and basically, um, so I bought toys, guns there, toys, everything, and then I went to my, I had my birds there that I got after my dog Chloe Bully got taken away, and that I got from mom and dad, and Blue Star and Sunshine, and I really miss those birds. I think it was Sunshine that passed away, and my parents didn't want to tell me that he was dead. They tried dragging off as much as they could. They really did. They wouldn't let me go in the house. They wanted me to stay out all night if they could. And sorry about that. And they made me stay out all night, and not all night, but late. And finally, they said I could go in. I saw and see Sunshine. I cried, "Where's my bird? Where's my bird? Who stole my bird?" And they explained he's dead. I started crying. And I felt horrifically sad. Horrifically sad. Oh, my bird's dead. The mom, Blue Star wasn't my bird at the time, but mom then gave it to me. And when I was at that first group home where they had the plants, I had to leave there because I went to my first group home. And at that group home, I was probably my favorite group home out of all the group homes I was at. They had a nickname for me, Mosh Pit, because I was kind of a crazy guy, just running around barefoot, didn't care, takes his shirts off, I was rambunctious. I was like the hyper guy. Everyone knew me as Mosh Pit, even kids that didn't see me too much, They had rock climbing, they had a playground. Their property was 1,000 acres. And their 1,000 acres was for the group home. And it was a lot. The group home's name was Millhouse, and it was tough getting over, So I played with the kids, and everyone got along with me. No one was mean to me or bullied me. And you don't see that these days, you just don't. And I love that home so much. And, watching that home, go by, I was sad. I, I laughed because they're sending it to all 14, and then I went to a foster home in Los Banos, and basically in Los Banos, the lady is very not caring or loving or anything for me. She basically one time took me to Taco Bell at the park, and that was it. She never took me anywhere else. She locked me in the garage. She wouldn't let me out. She made me pull weeds. She did the cruel stuff to me. So I told CPS I didn't want to live there anymore. And, then they sent me to Creative Alternatives at home. It's a huge business sorry. It's a huge business in Houston. It's a huge business in multiple cities, but the one I started out was in Houston, California. Not, yeah, I think that's how it says. And I basically enjoyed it there. I lived there for how many ever years, two and some odd years. I made lots of friends. I was the first at a little kid's house, and I was doing really good there. I made friends. I did everything. And kids didn't. I got carried with the kids' toys. I didn't necessarily consider it stealing, but it was kind of stealing. I would take their toys and play with them. And when I was done, instead of putting them back on their side, I put them on my side. When they asked what it was, I tell them, I have it, I was playing with it. Do you want it back? And they go, yeah, I want it back. Oh man, and then, let's see here, and then I was in Auburn. I was moved to an older kid's house, and then there I was not behaving well, and they put me in a care home. I was there most of the time. I was in the corner, watching the kids swim or play around. Probably the whole time I was there, I was in the corner. Probably about 32 hours. I was there about 3 months, 3 or 4 months. So that's not even 2 days I was in the corner. It's really bad, So then they sent me to a foster home, Ruby's, and Ruby's a very loving woman, and her husband was too. He passed away a couple years ago, about 4 years ago. But yeah, Ruby's probably the nicest lady I've ever met, and it's hard on me. Sorry. And she's the nicest lady I ever met, and it's just hard on me, and she been there for me all the time, and she took me on the plane my first time, and I went to Bronson, Missouri for I think it was 18 or 19 days. We saw shows. We went to a park called Silver Dollar City. It was awesome. She loved me like her own son, and we went to Boomtown a lot. We went all over the place. It was a lot of fun, and I wish I could just have someone. I wish everyone could have some of her. I wish everyone could have someone that loved them the way she loved me, because she loves me still. She's getting old. She's living her memory. But just remember this: God is there for you. And then, so we went on hikes. We went on long drives. We went to casinos. I didn't gamble, of course, but I was, in the arcades. We went to shows. She took me to a Giants game. She took me all over the place, and it was a lot of fun. And I wish I could go back in time. And then I started acting out, and Anthony said, "Oh, don't worry, your parents are dead." he wasn't trying to be mean. He was just trying to get me to start behaving. And that caused a mental blackout. And I don't know if you know what a mental blackout is, or maybe you do. It's where everything goes black and you only see black. You know, you might see a door, like in my case I saw a door, or something leading to the blackout. Which, in that case, your mind has two options: go out the door or go back. And your mind can't process in time. As you're trying to think of it, your body is running to the door, and most people don't have time to react. Look, I can't go out that door. It's going to be a blackout. And I hit that door. I punched holes in my grandma's wall. I broke 12 windows. I flipped over furniture. I tore up beds. I did everything. I broke TVs. I stomped my grandma's table. I tore up my favorite books, which were about boats, because I've always had a fascination about boats. And so it was hard on me. And then I went to Herder Jokes for, it was supposed to be for a month. And, they let me out for good behavior. In Herder Jokes, they basically, grounded me to level 2. I don't know why, but I was in the kids unit. That's what I do know. I don't know the units. I think that's probably like level 2. If they had the mild look. I think there was one or two or three levels. But I was on the highest one. I was on the lowest. And I know for adults they have 3 levels, but yeah, they brought it 36, not 360. They didn't have this then yet, but it was in 2004 when they brought me the Nintendo 64. I played that over and over and over. I had so much fun, and then it was hard on me. It was, and it became to a point where I graduated early for good behavior, and then I went to not a foster home, not a respite home for children, but a homeless shelter for children. And I had my pajamas on, and they had a little rip in them, and I tried ripping them around and not up. And they ripped them straight up into my underwear. And, then I was sent back to Herder Jokes, and then my SSI couldn't afford it anymore, so they sent me back with Ruby. And then I went to school, Sierra Boys Ranch. Sierra Boys Ranch was a pain in the butt, They had 4 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. And then they had a thing where they had, before the levels, they have Suicide Watch, Railway Watch, and Safety Watch. If you're one of those, every level takes 24 hours to get over. So basically, if you're on level 1, you're going to be on there 24 hours, level 2, 24 hours. But level 2, you get that level 1, when you're on level 2, you have to wait there. So if you start out at 10 in the morning, and you're off at 10 in the morning, and you get off at noon, and you get off at, if you start at 10 in the morning, you had 10 in the morning till you go to bed to, not screw up, but not move up, And then, from there it goes every day. Every day you wake up. But level 1, they keep you on 24 hours no matter what. So you screw up at 2 in the morning, you're going to be on it until 2 in the morning. No, they're not going to keep you up that late. When you wake up the next day, you'll have the chance to be off level 2. And, it was tough on me, really tough growing up. I had no friends after Sierra Boys Ranch. I mean, after Sherlock Holmes, Criminal Alternatives, you know. So in my schools, I had really no friends, and at one of my schools, I had a crush on a girl named Krista. I had my friend write a note to her. Well, he wasn't really a friend; he was just someone I lived with. And Josh Harper, I had him write her multiple notes. On the third note, I got expelled because of his dirty notes, And I tried to explain to the teacher that he didn't erase my signature, but he wrote the note, and she didn't believe me. And I was in gold trial at the social emotional disorder class for a while, and I didn't like that class. They found out I didn't need that class. That's why I went to Pleasant Valley, where that kid wrote those notes, And I enjoy life, But as a teenager and part of my adulthood, I didn't. Hold on. Part of my adulthood, I didn't. And growing up, I thought. Hold on. Growing up, I thought there was no one out there that loved me, and there is. God loves you. Your parents. I hope your parents love you, but there's always someone out there that loves you. God loves you always, no matter what. Even if you believe in the devil, He wants you to believe in Him, but He still loves you, even if you don't. And then, yeah. So, it was a hard life, it really was. And I was at Sierra Boys Ranch. The rules are you can't go to the bathroom in the middle of the night without raising your hand. You can't shout out. You have to sit down and raise your hand. One screw up, no matter what you do wrong, you're on level 1. So I purposely got kicked out of there. I went to Fresno home, and I kicked the side of the truck that the group home had. The truck drove off. I didn't know there was a police right behind him. So yeah, you better drive off. Like a tough kid I wanted to be. Cops came, took me to holding cell over for a while. It was not pleasant, And I miss, I wish I could correct those people, all those people that cared about me. I'm sorry for what I did. And, sorry. And, I loved God, I always have, I just did not accept Him into my life until just this last week. I mean, I kind of did, but I didn't at the same time. I actually literally let Him in this week. I'm trying to get better, But anyways, back as my child life. I'm sorry. So I was at Sierra Boys Ranch, I went to Fresno home. I kicked the cars in. I was very destructive. I'd move the staff that I had crushes on. I'd pulling their skirts. I was destructive. I threw little chairs in the pool, which isn't good, I was always AWOLing, So then they moved me to another group home, which they thought would be better, more strict. And everyone thought structure is what I need. Some kids, they just need a nice, lenient family. But, sorry, I'm falling asleep. They need a nice, lenient family. And, the nice, lenient family will help them, in ways. Or home, And I ran away multiple times. I ran away one time to homeless shelter. One time they sent the police after me with the dog. The dog never attacked me. But yeah, then I came to my last care home at Patrick's home, and they said give him 2 weeks. He won't be there. And then 2 weeks goes by. I'm still there. And yeah. So basically, Patrick was the guy that watched me. He could all go in 2 weeks, and I was still there. And I just left, and I moved there on my 18th birthday, and I just had my 26th birthday last year, about a little less than 3 months ago. A little less than 2 months ago. Yeah, a little less than 3 months ago. It was November 17th. And today is January, February 2nd. And I loved Patrick. I got attached to him. We had our ups and downs. He had some crazy clients there. But he cared about it. He still does, I hope. And then I came here, and I'm in a much lower level. I'm enjoying life, and I want you to know, those of you who watched this video and heard how rough I have a life, you can do something with your life, but you need help sometimes. Sometimes you don't, but almost always you need help. And that's God's help, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.